Hi, this is Kimberly. Please enjoy our podcast, but remember our doctors are only here to educate, not diagnose. If you have any questions or need any further information, please email me. My email address is kim@mfwellness.org.
Okay, so my first podcast for 2022, I've missed out. I was out of town or something. I don't remember. It was like
You're on vacation.
10 vacation. So longest that I've been gone from Midwest Family Wellness in the 20 years that I've been here. And I had straight up had the shakes.
Place only caught on fire one time.
I know, you guys did
Which
great.
we haven't brought up until now.
You guys did great. Yeah, my wife was physically restraining me from looking on Skype messages or checking on the office in any way. So
I noticed it got shut down.
After about
you
48 hours.
And then it was dead. It was dead zone after that.
Yeah. She's like, what are you doing? I was, nothing. She saw that I had Skype opened, and then I was looking at the live stats, and she took my phone. And so that was that. And so it was nice. It was a really good time. The first 2 days, it was nice enough to swim, and I got an entire pool gang going with that game.
You went to Florida, right?
Yeah. Well, to Disney, but the best part about Disney is the pools. So we got like a gang of kids. You know, you yell the numbers, you hit the ball up in the air, you see how long you can keep it up. And that game attracts all kids. So Jamie's got a picture of me on Instagram,
yeah.
and there's like
1,000 kids around you.
What were the age ranges of?
I was the oldest.
Go figure.
Yeah. At 47, and then the youngest was just a little bitty guy who was just up in the shallow end. He was having this time of his life. So I'd say he was 3, and then I would say that if you graph it, most of your ages are going to fall under 10.
Oh.
And then there was me. But I had to keep them in charge, and all the parents were like, they were off drinking.
They're like,
you know
what I mean?
They're like, yeah, should we go in there and help? And then like, no, he's got it. So that was my natural ability to lead all juveniles.
Good job.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. Okay, so it's February.
Yep.
We're going to talk about heart health, which we talk about every February. And people are like, come on, February is boring. And I'll tell them, hey, man, as soon as heart disease is not the number one killer in this country, we'll talk about something else. Like, we would love to talk about something else in February, but we're not going to. This is important. And if even one person takes the stuff we're going to talk about here the next half an hour and changes their attitude or their demeanor or their activities just a little bit, we'll have been incredibly successful. So we're going to talk about heart disease today. We're talking about the specific, most effective ways for pushing heart disease off the table. I am going to talk about triglycerides, and I'm going to talk about blood sugar management.
And then I have blood pressure.
Nice.
And also LDLs.
Nice, bro. And then I'll talk about waist circumference, which is a fun one to talk about. And then I will talk about chiropractic care and heart disease. So it's going to be pretty cool. So, and then if you're mentally shutting down and you don't want to hear a health podcast, I totally understand. We're going to try and keep it as interesting as we can. And we only use like the newest stuff that we talk about. We're not going to go back.
In the past, we've gotten really in depth
on
the physiology and all that. Yeah, I'm going to keep mine pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we got to stay on the top.
Fundamental. Yeah,
we have such a broad spectrum to cover. We got to stay on the top. We can't go into the weeds today.
Right.
Which is boring. Because like that's where all the magic is in the weeds.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'll start. So triglyceride management, I want you guys to understand that triglycerides naturally occur. They, sometimes, triglycerides and LDLs and sugar, they get made out to be these evil substances that want you to die. I mean, that's just not true. Highly processed diets produce more triglycerides than your body can metabolize. So just think of triglycerides as tiny balls of energy. And what those do is that they give you, you're walking around, blinking your eyelids, doing all your stuff. If you have too many of those, at the end of the day, those get converted to fat really easily. And that fat can generate atherosclerotic tendencies in the body. It can generate a bunch of other stuff. Keeping them low means that your heart doesn't have to deal with shuffling them around the body. It's that simple. And so what's the best way to reduce those things? It's just to eat a healthy diet. So saturated fats, that kind of stuff, highly processed foods, just want to avoid those as much as you can. It's that simple. It's just that simple. Okay? So like, you got to reduce your triglycerides. You're right. I'm going to eat a more high fiber diet, which is apples, You know, like, oh, high fiber, like it's a new thing. It's plants. Plants are fiber. And so the amount of sugar just running around in your blood that's not being metabolized is really, really important. In the past, when they talk about paleo diets or these other diets, they're really mainstreaming, the concept that humans eat diets that don't have a lot of free sugar. And what I mean is that sugar tastes good. And when food companies want you to buy their food, they make it taste better. One of the easiest ways to do that is with highly processed sugar. So they add it in, or they caramelize something, or they make it sweeter. All of those things are too sweet for the human to handle. And because of that, those extra sugars are prevalent in the bloodstream. They're not metabolized quickly. Then your cells are like, dude, there's too many sugars out here. And they desensitize themselves to that. Just like when you drink too much alcohol. It's the same effect. That cell receptor mediated, not immunity, but tolerance. And so you have to have even more sugar to produce the same effect. Same with coffee. The problem is that you will pee out caffeine, but you have a lot of difficulty peeing out extra sugar because that makes you diabetic. And so it gets metabolized and it stays on your body as fat. Now your heart doesn't and shouldn't have to shuffle around a whole bunch of sugar. And so the way that we avoid that is by staying off of highly processed foods and exercising. And I'm going to yell and scream about exercising at the end, so I'll just say a little bit now. Exercise is your best weapon against sugar that you've taken into your body. And it's really, other than taking a bunch of drugs, your only weapon. Okay, those are my two things to start with.
Okay, for me, I want to talk about blood pressure. And that's because it's really the best indicator of how healthy your heart is. It's very easy. It's something easy you can even do at home. You don't have to wait till every time you go to your physician to find out what your blood pressure is.
Right.
You can find some pretty inexpensive home blood pressure measuring devices that will work great. And
Did you want to say sphygmomanometer?
I kind of did, but then we're keeping,
We're trying to keep Kim awake.
Yeah. I was
worried
about her a second
Kim's
ago.
daydreaming about snowstorms.
Right. And so, first of all, just the basics. We hear the numbers. That top number, systolic. Bottom number, diastolic. There's a certain range we want that to be in.
Right.
And once it hits that 120 over 80, once it gets above that, over the recent years, that's become an issue. Before that, it was like, if you're below that... And even if you're under 140 over 90, but now they look at, kind of like that 130 mark as a pre-hypertension.
Right. Pre-hypertension.
But so systolic, that top number, to keep it simple, that is the pressure that your heart is exerting as it's contracting and pushing blood through the arteries. The diastolic is the pressure when your heart is relaxed.
Right. So it's like systolic's how hard you're pushing out, and then diastolic is how hard your body's pushing back against you.
Right.
All right. Right, Kim? That matters.
Yeah.
Because one of them changes all the time, and the other one doesn't.
Right. So even if you are...
The one that comes back doesn't change?
The one where your body's pushing against you.
Yeah. So if you're exercising, and let's say you test your blood pressure right after exercise,
and you're pumping it up.
That systolic, that's going to be way higher than it normally is. But that diastolic, it really shouldn't change a whole lot. It should still be around that 80. Maybe it'll be slightly different, but shouldn't be much different than it is when you're resting. And then something we always talk about with our patients is if you have a device at home, record it at
such a big deal.
Same time, pick the same time every day or whatever, however many days you want to test it per week, or maybe it's just weekly, same time. And then we also like to see different positions. So seated versus seated, lying down versus lying, even maybe standing versus standing. And they will be different compared to each other, but each week if you're comparing standing to standing, lying to lying, those should be
the same.
Right. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. So just a really easy way to test how healthy your heart
Kim's
is.
squinting at you.
No. Yes, Kim.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is that the metric that a lot of people track?
Are you saying should they or do they?
Both, I guess.
No. I mean, how many times have you had a patient come in and they went and they had their blood pressure taken, and we ask them, okay, how was it done? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, how was it done? Did you sit in a room by yourself relaxing for 5 minutes? Were you laying on your side? Did they take it more than once? None of that gets done. They come in, white coat, freak out, takes your blood pressure. It's already through the roof. They put you on drugs. Yeah. And I'm not, I don't like to just be dismissive, but that is the case we get from, I've never.
And that's why we like it actually done at home. If you have
the ability,
man. Because you're relaxed.
That's right.
You can
it's
sit in a quiet room. You're not afraid because you're worried what the physician's going to say or what they're going to do to you.
And let's say the machine is off 2 points. Okay, that's okay. Because it's consistently off 2 points. And you can see whether it's going up or going down. That's where we're at. It's a big deal. And so with the heart, so much of it is what's going on around you. Did somebody scare you? Is somebody outside the door sliding notes underneath it to us? Did somebody tap the table? Like, these things greatly affect blood pressure, but it's transient. You want to keep it the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Dr. Maurer.
And then the other thing I was going to talk about are LDLs, or low-density lipoproteins. So, and that's cholesterol. And just like Dr. Josh was talking about with triglycerides, sometimes these get a really bad name. They call them the bad cholesterol.
Yeah.
And they call the HDLs the good cholesterol.
Right.
Which that's not totally true. So
right, it's just juvenile.
Once again, LDLs, it's excess that's the problem. So when we get an excess amount of those LDLs floating around, that's when we start seeing, what they call the plaquing. And when that starts to restrict the diameter of those vessels, that's when it becomes a problem. And that's when it affects that blood pressure we were just talking about.
Yeah, man.
That's an effect. Having a higher blood pressure is an effect of those vessels becoming more and more constricted. So that's why it's a big deal. And just like with the triglycerides, it has a lot to do with your nutrition when it comes to these LDLs. If you're taking in way too much saturated fat, which might be, it does come from animal proteins, is a big part of it. And we're not saying you can't have any meats, but if you're every meal during the day, that's pretty much all you're taking in. That's a big problem.
It is.
So, and you just have to make sure you're counteracting that with what Dr. Josh mentioned, as well as with fruits, vegetables, our unsaturated fats, getting omega-3s in our diet.
I love it.
Those nice healthy fats. It's just like with everything we talk about nutrition, it's moderation.
Or exercise.
And the exercise is the huge thing.
What I mean?
So
like,
that'll help clear it out.
Like,
yeah.
Pay the price.
So eating healthy and exercise especially, once again, will help a great deal with the LDLs.
I love it. I'll cover the last one, which is a relatively new one in terms of like all the things we're talking about. Blood pressure, LDLs, that stuff's been around forever. But our medical doctor buddies, a lot of them are talking about waist circumference. And they're like, okay, well, is it, half of, what do? They do less than half of your height is in inches around your waist, or for women, less than 35 inches, and men, they want less than 40-inch waist. When you are carrying, it's just this simple. Just forget everything else. If you have extra fat on your body, those fat cells contribute to an increased hormone and inflammatory response. That's all you need to know. More fat, more inflammatory response. An inflammatory response, think of it this way, is like when you get a cut, is it really red, itchy, and swollen? Do your joints hurt all the time? These are the signs and symptoms of inflammation. Inflammation and sugar go hand in hand. Keeping inflammation out of your body as best you can is a great way to live a long time. And so carrying extra fat will do that to you. It's one of the things that's been documented pretty well recently in this great big war. We're just picking stuff to be at war with. We're like, oh, it's fat, in the 80s and 90s. And then they realize, oh my God, it's the sugar. And now they're transitioning off of the sugar. And maybe someday they'll realize that it's just a bunch of people that have become insanely sedentary, and they'll start complaining about that. But sometimes people don't want to hear that. They want, some other solution. So, you can use waist as a metric. You can use all of these things as metrics. And don't be scared of them. They're just numbers. But understand that if you're like, I don't care about numbers, great. I'll see you on the treadmill. 30 minutes every single day. That's what your body's built for. I don't have time for that. Well, I would argue that you don't really have time for anything else. I mean, not to be holier than thou. Like most of the people that listen to this podcast are our patients, and they want to know what it's going to take to be healthy. We're telling you, just find a way to exercise every single day. You burn up that sugar, burn up, lower the triglyceride count, lower the LDL, and then increase high density lipoprotein counts, which is a direct side effect of cardiovascular exercise.
And if you're wondering where you're at on a lot of these things, you can get a blood profile somewhere, and you can kind of find out where you're at currently, and then if you have some work to do, we'll help you on the right track.
Most of your primaries have a yearly exam where they'll pull that information, or they should, get a red top, a purple top, and then a purple top that has a little bit of red in it. Those are the tubes you want to see go off. The blood tubes, Kim. No?
Yeah.
Did you notice they had different tops?
Yeah, I never knew what they were for, though.
You're so fun. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is chiropractic and heart disease. There are several studies over the years that have been done. One of the most recent that we like to talk about here, because it directly influences the research that we've started to publish, is heart rate variability, how well your heart recovers from being scared or being shocked or being exercised, how it goes from a high rhythm down to a regular rhythm. That time, that interval matters. It's an indicator of heart health, and it's called heart rate variability. And there's a really great study that was done in 2016 where they take a bunch of patients that are getting adjusted regularly and compare them to people that have never been adjusted, or they get adjusted, I think it was a 1 and 6 month interval. And there's significant difference. Well, so in the world of research, when we say significance, it means that there's enough of a difference to where you can make conclusions based on that study. The other thing with chiropractic care is that when we are maintaining the mobility of the neck, when you get fixations in between vertebrae, somebody gets stuck, not moving, it can put pressure on the nerves. The problem with the nerves of the neck is that it's not just the motor nerves, the ones that move your hand, it's also the nerves that control the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So those nerves are the feedback loop. And so it's how well your brain can run your heart, how well your brain can run your lungs, eye dilation, sweating or not sweating, armpit, the whole deal. It's all right there. And so people whose necks are free from fixations and moving, there's a lot less insult to the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. So it's the reason why we're always looking right up in there, making sure everybody's moving. So that's that. Pretty cool, huh, Kim?
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Chiropractic amazes me.
It's really neat the way, and for the longest time, these chiropractors were getting these great results, but they couldn't explain why, because the tech wasn't there. And so in the 30s and 40s, they have these people lining up down the street to get adjusted. And they're like, well, how does this work? Like, we don't have any idea.
But it does.
I know. And so that is okay as long as you're working to elucidate the model, Some of the detractors to chiropractic will say, well, you don't know how it works. Buddy, if you think that they understand how aspirin works, you're wrong. They don't. Like, a lot of these mechanisms haven't been elucidated. But we're working on that, trying to understand, getting the tech in there, getting the studies. There's no big pharma paying for chiropractic studies. It's all homegrown. So, anyway, that's just something cool to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
We want to bring this up really quick. February 4th is
The 4th.
Wear Red Day. Is that correct, Kim?
Oh my
Yes,
God,
it
Kim.
is.
Wear red for heart health. And
We're
so we had
wearing red today.
We had this whole big plan to wear red on the 4th and hand out stuff. But guess what? It's on Friday.
We're not here.
And we don't see patients on Friday. But so what we're going to do is on Monday, starting Monday the 7th, and that whole week we're here. That Monday we're going to wear red. But the whole week we're going to be handing out heart-shaped ice packs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Along with, and this is heart health, but also Valentine's Day.
That's right, because we love you.
Leading up to it, we're going to be handing out those little tiny candy heart boxes from the 7th through the 14th. And don't worry, they're little. We're not going to get your blood sugar up too high.
Right. Plus, I'm not sure they're edible.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, these are the ones I got in high school. Yeah, they're literally the same.
If you don't have healthy teeth, then you should probably give them to somebody
these,
else.
Yeah. And we have done that for years. This is probably our 10th or 11th year giving these things.
At least, yeah.
People love them.
People love them. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we're joined here at the last second by the other Dr. Fink. He's made it from his trials and whatever he was doing. And he looks like he's in an awesome mood. Dr. Fink, we're finishing up our heart health talk. And you're the one most qualified to speak about heart health. Do you have any comments to make? And you don't have to make any if you don't want to.
I think the best thing to think about regarding heart health is that doing a little bit each day is the best thing that you can do for yourself. It's not about exercising for 2 hours. It's not about, trying to make it all up in one session.
That's right.
30 to 45 minutes and reaching your estimated heart rate, right? Because that's where you get and burn calories and have cardiovascular health.
And the way to know that, are you slightly out of breath? Perfect. That's where you need to be.
Yeah. The watches are great, but if you don't
it's
have
fun to
one,
have data.
just,
you don't
gauge
need
it on
any of
that. Can you still talk?
Right. You got a mailbox? Perfect. Walk to that mailbox, and then right before you get to it, you just go the wrong way. 15 minutes, then you come back 15 minutes at a pace where you're slightly out of breath. Now you're perfect. All you need is a mailbox.
Kim, you have
Or
a mailbox?
someone's
I do,
mailbox,
actually.
Kim.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. That's it for us. So, Dr. Fink, everything for the people? Welcome to the office, Dr. Fink.
Yeah, it's good to be
You've
here.
had a tough day.
Oh, no, it was just, it was fine. I know the guy that was working Walmart was, he was reaching his
limit.
his cardiovascular
everybody's-
Is it because of the people and the
Everybody's
snow?
prepping for the snow, right?
It is the lack of, right now during the pandemic, there's a lack of workers for anything. So there was two people.
Did you take them a massage gift certificate?
No, I was already there. I didn't have a massage gift.
Shoot, okay.
But yeah, they were just running around and he was sweating. He was like
That poor guy.
going back and forth.
You know the people are being rude.
I know, that's why I kept my
We should
count.
take him some candy hearts.
Yeah.
Should.
Okay. He's probably not working after today.
Yeah, he probably will.
That's it.
All right. Dr. Maurer, anything for the people?
No, that's it for me.
Miss Kim, anything for the people?
Just happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think this will be out.
Yeah, the week
That
next
week,
week.
yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so for Dr. Brad, for Dr. Matt, and for Kimberly, I'm Dr. Fink. Josh, And we'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Bye.
And a big thank you goes out to Hug Monster Sound for somehow allowing the doctors' voices to sound even better than they already do.